logs here, when I put this slave kitchen up, I had these 2 logs that came out of the plantation house down at the Oaks Plantation. They were in the original Indian cabin, and Harold owns the Oaks down there. He couldn't level the floor on account of being log seals. So he wanted to put 2 8s in there and get rid of those logs. So he asked me if I need them, and which I did when I put this kitchen up. So I said, yeah, give them to me. So these 2 logs on each side, I call them starter logs. They were cut by the Indians, which had built a cabin there on the plantation property. Before Abraham Ricks got there, they had built a cabin, and he just started building over it and around it. And these logs came out of the Indian cabin. So they were cut somewhere 1790 to 1820, somewhere in that area. Was built somewhere around 1820, but some of the stuff that's in it is original equipment, and not many things, but a few things. And one of the things is I'd like for you to look at this picture right here. This picture was done by the University of Alabama, was doing a historical study back in 1935, and the photographer stood in the front of the fireplace here that you can see and made a picture of the fireplace, and the little pot that's over the fire here, we still have it. It's over here on the hearth down there. But now the cat there, we don't have it no more. But this table is original equipment, and this handmade dasher that came out of a churn. The way they made their where you make buttermilk is churn the milk, and this is handmade. And the way I got this, where I got it, when I took this floor up, the ashes had sifted through the floor from the fireplace, and this was inside of a bunch of ashes. It was on the floor, and it preserved it. The ashes preserved it, or it would termites would have eaten it up many, many years ago. But this was probably used by the slaves. They wore it in 2 here in the middle, so they threw it on the floor and it got in those ashes. But they probably threw it on the floor to keep from getting in trouble for breaking it. Another piece of equipment here, kitchen equipment, is this dough roller. They had worn it out too. I don't know why they didn't level it up here, but the center of it is wore down. And this pie safe. This pie safe dates back to the time that Abraham Ricks came here in 1818 when he got here. This is one of the few pieces that's left that he brought here from North Carolina with him in 1818. This is the original equipment. And I was sitting over on a bench here one day, and I asked this guy, I said, what did they cut that notch out of that corner of that chop block for? And he said, don't you know? And I said, well, I guess it's for cutting a chicken's head off. He said, no. They'd wring that head off. He said, that's for squirrels and rabbits. And back then, that was a big thing, is killing rabbits and squirrels. But I wanted to show you this right here. Now, do you think that woman that used that knife, do you think she got her money's worth out of that knife? You know, I can see my mother now, the way she used to peel an apple or things, and she'd peel with that thumb there, and that's what this lady did. It used that knife. It's interesting, this stuff, it's in here, but, and Grandma here, she lost her teeth. We're still hunting her teeth. And the little pot that I was telling you about, the little pot that I said we had, that was here in 1995 when they done the historical study, that was hanging over the fireplace in 1995. This is what the plantation kitchen looked like before we took it down at the Oaks. It had the chimney had already fallen. The day that the plantation owner died, Bill Kimbrough and Mary Lynn Kimbrough restored that Oaks plantation and back in the 60s. And they didn't want to spend any money on this, or Mary Lynn did, but Bill didn't want to spend no money on this plantation kitchen and restoring it. So it stood there and just deteriorated till Harold, when they died, Harold and their son inherited the Oaks plantation. So he told me, he said he was going to bury it or burn it. And I said, no, give it to us and we'll take it up to the mountain and restore it. So he said, well, it's yours. So we started taking it down. But these are pictures of what it looked like before we took it down. Louise and I went down there and put a tape around it to keep anybody from going in it because it was about to fall. This is some of the pictures of me marking the studs or the ceiling joist or the floor joist. I'm looking, I guess that's the floor joist. We marked each log and Harold let me have his tractor with a bucket on it to take the logs down. He had a new Kubota and come in here, but we didn't have a tractor with a bucket on it at the time. We do now, but we didn't then. This is my son. He helped me take it. One day it was real cold. We were working down there and the wind was blowing. Cold winter time. We took it down during the winter, but we didn't start putting it back up. It was in June of the following year. We had it covered up and up off the ground up here. It took us about 3 months to put it together. That's some of the logs that deteriorated. We had to replace it. That's an Oaks plantation house there. That's back in the 60s when they got through restoring it. In the 60s. I'd say Bill and Mary Lynn probably put $100,000 in restoring it, and Harold has spent over $1 million restoring it. But it's a beautiful place. If you haven't seen the Oak Plantation, you need to make a point to drive by there and look at it. It's one of the nicest plantation houses in the country.
It's awesome that you take pictures of it.
That's some of the pictures inside of the Oaks Plantation. And that's what it looked like before Bill and Mary Lynn started working it back in the 60s. That's what it looked like. It was bad shape. There's a picture of it today. Slave houses before they was all gone. The church there. Tuscaloosa County, but I can just imagine when this man, the day he finished this wagon barn, he was a happy camper. He had a place that he could put his cow, he could put his horse, his mules, he could put his wagon out of the weather, and he had and store his hay and his peanuts and his peas and all that stuff up in the barn loft. He must have been a happy camper. Farm equipment here. Billy Smith called me one day and he said, LC, Bunyan Cole gave me a bunch of his granddaddy's old farm equipment, and it's been in my yard here, and Linda wants me to get it out of the yard. Do y'all want it? And I said, sure, we'd like to have it. So this belonged to Mr. Bailey, which was Bunyan Cole. It owns Bunyan's Barbecue. It belonged to his granddaddy. And some of it dates back to the 1800s, but it's a name brand stuff, John Deere. I don't know, I can't name the equipment, but it's name brand stuff. But I was glad to get it. Little chapel was inside of a 6-room house down in Tuscaloosa, or Fayette County one, and we tore the 6-room house down to get the cabin, which was inside the house. We took it down, brought it up here, and put it back up, and turned it into our chapel. Well, we've never had a wedding. I'm a minister. I marry couples up here, but we've never had a wedding inside the chapel because it's so small. But we've had 2 weddings outside on the steps here and in the yard. Here we've had 2 weddings. Smokehouse, and we store stuff in it. And inside this smokehouse is the safe that came out of the college. This is a building of higher learning here, and I'm always interested in showing this. Have to watch. Walsh likes to build nests in this place. So that's it speaks for itself. I think most people know that it's a 1-room schoolhouse right there.